Music Maze! Hi, Mrs. Wallet here. Today we're going to be doing some minimalist music listening. If you have Teams, you can download the paper on Teams and give your answers on there, submit your answers. But I'm also going to be having the questions on the screen for you to look at as well. We're going to start by listening to extract 1, which is called Elements by Lemon Jelly. So for question 1, you need to select which shape of the repeated pattern is heard at the beginning. Is it A, B or C? So I'm going to read them out and then you obviously need to listen to the piece of music to be able to answer the questions. Question 2, how many times is this pattern repeated before the voice comes in? Is it 3, 4, 5 or 6? And question 3 says, what happens to this pattern throughout the music? Choose one from those given below. It stays exactly the same throughout. It stops after a while. It stops, then starts again. The notes of the pattern change. Let's have a listen.
Earth, metal, water, wood. Earth, metal, water, wood, and fire.
If you need to have a listen to that again, feel free to go back and have another listen, but we're going to move on to question 4. So question 4 says, what new patterns and instruments are added as the music builds up? So we're going to listen to that extract one more time.
Earth, metal, water, wood. Earth, metal, water, wood, and fire.
Time for answers. So question 1, the correct shape of the repeated pattern heard at the beginning is B. Question 2, how many times is this pattern repeated before the voice comes in? And the correct answer is 4 times. Question 3, what happens to this pattern throughout the music? And you're only meant to select one. The correct answer is it stays exactly the same throughout. Question 4, I'm going to give you quite a lot of detail, but obviously I'm not expecting for you to necessarily have got all of these features. So it says, what new patterns and instruments are added as the music builds up? So layers build up in this order. First, the voice enters with ash, metal, water, wood, and fire. The guitar plays arpeggiated phrases. So, arpeggio is like when we play chords on the keyboard and we play one, miss one, play one, miss one, play one. That's what an arpeggio is. So, arpeggiated phrases. The bass line and the drums enter. Occasional chimes are dropped in. And the synth strings enter playing long notes. The second piece of music we're going to have a listen to is the third movement from Electric Counterpoint by composer Steve Reich. So question 1 says, what instruments can you hear? Question 2, this piece is an example of phase shifting, and a number of layers are heard in this piece. What do you hear in the music that is characteristic of phase shifting? So you might remember when we had a look at clapping music in week 2. Question 3 says, what happens when the bass line enters? So you can choose one from those given below. The bass line is repeated exactly the same. The bass line is repeated with some more notes added. The bass line is repeated with less notes. Or the bass line is repeated on different instruments. Let's have a listen. We're only going to listen to this one time, so make sure you're listening carefully. Time for answers. So question 1 says, what instruments can you hear? The correct answer is electric and bass guitars. If you've not put electric and you've just put guitars, that's okay too, but it is worth noting that electric guitars have a very different timbre to acoustic guitars. Question 2 says, this piece is an example of phase shifting, and a number of layers are heard in this piece. What do you hear in the music that is characteristic of phase shifting? So it has similar motifs or patterns that are used throughout the piece. However, they start at different times, and this is called phasing in, resulting in a thick and complex texture. By varying the motifs using phase shifting, it prevents the music from becoming boring. Question 3 says, what happens when the bass line enters? And the correct answer is the bass line is repeated with less notes. You might have also noticed that the guitar part is relatively simple. The guitar part only actually uses 2 chords.
So the next extract we're going to be listening to, extract 3, is called Desert Music by Steve Reich. Question 1. Which instrument plays the stabbed chords at the start of this extract? Is it organ, trumpet, piano, or cello? Question 2. How many different pitches does the xylophone part have? Is it 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6? Question 3. What happens to the xylophone after the second stab chord? It changes from a beat to a rhythm. It plays twice as fast as before. It plays 4 times as fast as before. Or it plays half as fast as before. And question 4. After the second stab chord, a vibraphone comes in. Listening to the sound of the vibraphone, what do you notice it can do that a xylophone cannot? Tick 1 box. It can play loud and soft sounds. It can play 2 notes at once. It can play long and short sounds at once. It can bend notes down in pitch. Let's have a listen. Time for some answers. So the answer to question 1, which instrument plays the stab chords at the start of this extract, is a piano. Question 2, how many different pitches, so pitch is another word for note, does the xylophone part have? And the correct answer for that one is 2. What happens to the xylophone after the second stabbed chord? The answer for that is it plays twice as fast as before. And finally, question 4. After this second stab chord, a vibraphone comes in. Listening to the sound of the vibraphone, what do you notice it can do that a xylophone cannot? And the correct answer for that one is play 2 notes at once. We're going to listen to the same piece of music again, but with some more questions. So question 5, which instrument enters performing the next motif? Is it cello, harp, guitar, violin, or double bass? And question 6, what minimalist technique is used on this instrument's simple melody to make the music more complex as it goes along? Tick 2 boxes. It is repeated, it gets faster, it leaves out the notes as it goes along, it is imitated or echoed by other instruments, it gradually changes its pitches. And question 7, how many phrases make up this motif? Time for some answers. So, question 5, which instrument enters performing the next motif? The correct answer is violin. Question 6, what minimalist technique is used on this instrument's simple melody to make the music more complex as it goes along? And the correct answers are, it is repeated and it is imitated or echoed by other instruments. Finally, question 7, how many phrases make up this motif? The correct answer is 2. Last 2 questions on the same piece of music. Question 8, when the voices enter at around 1 minute and 42 seconds, how are they contrasted to the other parts already playing? Identify 2 answers. The dynamics get louder and softer, they have a faster rhythm, they have notes of longer duration, they have lyrics or words. And finally, for this piece of music, question 9, underline 2 words which best describe the mood of this piece of music. Do you think it is dreamy, aggressive, joyful, sulky, mysterious, or tired? And now for your last 2 answers. So question 8, when the voices enter at around 1 minute and 42 seconds, how are they contrasted to the other parts already playing? Identify 2 answers. The correct answers are the dynamics get louder and softer, and they have notes of longer duration. Question 9, underline 2 words which best describe the mood of this piece. And the correct answer is dreamy and mysterious. So that's all for today. Don't forget to click like and subscribe at the bottom of this video, and I'll see you all again soon for a new Music Miss.
Music Miss.